Hey everyone, it's been a while, but welcome back for my review of Ninjago Dragons Rising, Season 1, Part 1. 2023 is one of those next era years for Ninjago, in which the show undergoes major changes. And this time, it's the show itself that is changing. Last year, Crystallized closed the book on 15 seasons of the original Ninjago show. And this year kicks off Ninjago Dragons Rising, a sequel series. After the disappointing finale of Crystallized, or you could say the entire season itself, there was a lot of skepticism about if Dragons Rising would deliver. And I would say so far, it has. So far, it is the fresh start Ninjago needed. As a new series, Dragons Rising makes a number of big changes, and probably the biggest improvement is the return to longer episodes. For the first 10 seasons of Ninjago, episodes were 22 minutes long, and there was never really a big issue with these. Then from 2019 to 2022, episodes were shortened to 11 minutes. This definitely worked in some seasons, and it offered different types of episodes, such as backstory episodes, but it also really messed with the pacing of certain seasons, especially seasons 11 and 15. But hey, 22-minute episodes are back now, and I feel that the season is really well paced, in large part because of these longer episodes. Episode length was a big problem with Crystallized, and I'm really happy to see it fixed by Dragons Rising. Also, from now on, Ninjago is on Netflix, and that's definitely a good thing. I don't really like the binge release. I feel like it kind of lessens the hype, but it's really preferable to what Ninjago's experienced recently. For the last 5 years or so, Ninjago releases have been so chaotic. You would never know when episodes would air or where, but with Netflix, it's so much more organized, and this June 1st release was one of the most organized releases in years. The animation is also a bit different, due to Wildbrain now using Unreal Engine. For me, I feel the biggest improvement is in the backgrounds and the environments. These look a lot sharper and more detailed than they did in the Wildbrain years. I do like that Dragons Rising's art style as a whole is still very similar to the last 11 years of Ninjago. It is still a 3D show, and I'm glad it never switched to 2D like Monkey Kid. I feel this style definitely suits Ninjago, and there was never really a need to change it. Dragons Rising also has a new intro style, as well as a new theme song. It's called We Rise, and it's replacing the Weekend Whip, which will no longer be used. And honestly, I'm fine with that. As for We Rise, it's okay. It's definitely not as charming or catchy as the Weekend Whip, and the vocals do get a bit annoying, but I think it works. I feel like it's good as the theme song for this new show. As for the intros themselves, the visuals are fine. I like how they feature the characters. They do feel rather short, especially with how they edit and shorten the song. And also, I don't like how these intros are featured in episodes. What'll happen is the episode will play out for a few minutes, and then they'll essentially stop the episode, play the intro, and then go back to whatever was happening before. A ton of TV shows do this, so it's definitely not unusual, but here it does feel abrupt sometimes. Dragons Rising also has a big change to Ninjago's world, and that is of course all 16 or 17 realms merged together. This is exactly the kind of shakeup Dragons Rising needed to differentiate itself from the previous series. The 16 realms was always a big concept for Ninjago, and it was explored in seasons such as Season 5, Season 9, Season 11, but it was never the main focus. The merge offers the perfect opportunity to explore and expand upon realms we've seen before, but also finally introduce the realms we know nothing about. Dragons Rising has already done this with the introduction of Imperium, which we'll get to soon. The merge is a fantastic idea. It really makes Ninjago's world feel so much bigger. I also love the intrigue and mystery surrounding the merge. This show's big question so far is, why did the realms merge? It's clearly not just an accident. The show seems to be building up to this reveal, and I love how they do so, such as the Cloud Kingdom worms being cursed. There's also the question of elemental powers. A bunch of new characters have elemental powers after the merge, and it's no doubt connected to the merge. The only question, of course, is how. And I love how Season 1 introduces these mysteries, but doesn't give us too much info. It gives us just enough info to get interested, and I feel like for a show's first season, that's really effective storytelling. So yeah, the merge is great because it introduces new characters and new settings, but the way Season 1 ties mystery and suspense to it is so well done. But the other major change from Dragons Rising is New Ninja, finally. Dragons Rising kind of strikes a middle ground. It does introduce a new generation of ninja, but it also keeps the old one around too. This balance is perfect. I've almost felt like New Ninja was a must-have for this show, because the old ninja were definitely getting stale, especially in Crystallized. But keeping the old ninja around is good too. It's probably a smart business move, and it's definitely reassuring to a lot of fans who didn't want to see a new generation. But honestly, that new generation is pretty good, and Sora and Aaron are really strong characters. First up is Aaron. Aaron is from Ninjago. He witnessed the merge, he saw the ninja helping people. Unfortunately, he was separated from his own family, but seeing the ninja in action inspired Aaron to become a hero. Even though he doesn't have powers, Eren has seemingly taught himself how to do spinjitzu, which he can also transfer to objects. Yeah, that could be another mystery for the future. I don't feel like Eren has a lot of character growth yet, but the foundation so far is pretty good. Devin Mack does a great job voicing him, and I love his more traditional ninja design. Eren represents the idea that anyone can be a hero, and I really hope they don't give him powers. A ninja without powers would definitely be a first for Ninjago, and it would reinforce that idea that you don't need elements or powers to be a ninja. That's the concept the original show was notoriously inconsistent about. Dragon's Rising has the chance to do this concept right. Lastly, Eren's conclusion at the end of part 1 is particularly strong because it's him finally finding his family after the merge took away his first family. Sora is the other side of this duo, and so far she's definitely more complex. Sora comes from Imperium. She is the elemental master of technology, a brand new element for the show, which is really cool, by the way. What really elevates Sora is her backstory. As a child, she invented a device called the Photak, which Imperium wanted to use to hurt dragons. When she refused to reproduce the Photak, Sora was ostracized by Imperium, including her parents as well. After the merge, Sora ran away from Imperium and never looked back. Overall, a very compelling backstory, and one that really establishes Sora as a hero. Sora could have developed more Photaks. She would have been beloved by Imperium, but she decided to do what is right instead of what's convenient. Dragon's Rising has done an excellent job in showing why these two characters are truly heroes. I really enjoyed seeing Sora confront her past, such as Dr. Leroux, from episodes 6 to 10. I enjoyed seeing Sora gradually embrace her elemental ability and go back to Imperium to make things right. And the last of the main three is Lloyd. Lloyd, of course, is not a new character. In this season, we see him kind of take on the mentor or teacher role. Of course, Lloyd has his own struggles and difficulties, mostly in episode 3, but I enjoyed seeing him overcome those issues and adjust to his new role as the teacher. We've seen Lloyd before as a master and a leader, but never really as a teacher. So this definitely feels like a natural next stage. I also really appreciate how this season expands upon the relationship between Wu and Lloyd. For example, the flashback in episode 9. This flashback for some is definitely a little off-putting because of the Stan Vincent voice, but overall it's a pretty good flashback. And this episode shows how even all these years later, even as the teacher himself, Wu's lessons are still so important to Lloyd. And I feel like this underscores the relationship and how much Lloyd admires Wu as his uncle and as a mentor. I really enjoyed the whole common side lesson, and it's very fitting for the season. With the merge and all these realms coming together, this lesson about inner peace feels very resonant. Kai and Nia are also in the season, and I enjoyed their sibling interactions, because often it's Jay and Nia who we see, not so much Kai and Nia anymore. The way they're introduced to this season feels pretty natural, and even though they're more so side characters, that's totally fine. They're still given stuff to do, such as the weird monastery stuff in episodes 8 and 9, which is another confusing mystery. It seems like all the realms have their own monasteries which connect to each other, and somehow Zayd was trapped in this. Yeah, very confusing, but I fully expect this to be explained later. Oh yeah, Zayd is back too. His return is a bit abrupt, but I do trust they'll elaborate on this later. And Cole and Jay still missing? Honestly, it's fine. I'm 100% sure they'll show up in part 2. And as for Wu, he could be the monastery ghost, or maybe he isn't, who knows. So that's all I gotta say about the heroes. The next thing I want to discuss is the realms themselves. The Realm of Madness and Cloud Kingdom both returned for Dragon's Rising. I've always felt the Realm of Madness was very interesting, but very underutilized. So it's nice to see it back here. I mean, this is the place Garmna goes to grow extra arms. This realm has a lot of potential, and I'm glad we get to see it here in episode 4. I enjoyed the Kraglin plot in episode 4, where this time the dragons are evil, and they're essentially causing the Kraglin society to collapse. Anyways, episode 5 features the return of Cloud Kingdom, with some pretty big changes. As of season 5, the writers of Cloud Kingdom controlled destiny, and so basically no one had free will. However, this episode kind of refutes that. This episode says that the writers really don't have the control they say they do. This is definitely a good change for Ninjago. The idea of Cloud Kingdom controlling everyone's fate was always pretty unpopular, and I'm glad the writers seem to recognize that. It's very good that this concept has basically been scrapped. There's also a new elemental master of wind named Euphrasia. She is a monk from Cloud Kingdom. I enjoyed watching her use her powers and act, even though it would probably get her retribution from Cloud Kingdom. Also for elemental masters, we've got Wildfire. She's basically the savage child who was raised by the Heatwave Dragon, and she has some sort of firepower too. It's called Heat, but it's basically the same as fire. That's another mystery, how there could be 2 elemental masters of fire. So yeah, I enjoyed Wildfire's backstory. The character herself, I think, it's okay. She's okay. Sometimes she's definitely a bit annoying, but not terrible. Moving on to the villains of this season, Imperium. which is a new realm and also the main villains. Imperium is a dystopian totalitarian state controlled by Empress Beatrix, and I really enjoyed the portrayal of its culture and society. The citizens of Imperium are conditioned to believe that Imperium is just and their Empress is benevolent, despite the fact that they abuse dragons, and also stifle dissent and any sort of different opinion. The little details really help develop Imperium, such as a public shaving square existing, or the salute that the Imperium citizens give their Empress. Imperium feels unsettling and dystopian. It's really well developed. Imperium also features a cast of villains, most of which are pretty good. Empress Beatrix is this season's main villain, and she has a great design of voice. We don't see too much of her, but when we do, I really enjoy her cruelty and sense of superiority, especially when she yells at Ross and calls him an Outlander. I trust that we'll be seeing more of Empress Beatrix in the second half, as well as learning her backstory. Ross is the Empress's right-hand man, and he's a very mysterious character. He's got this grand plan for the dragons and Ryu, but we don't really know too much about it. He's also not from Imperium. He showed up after the merge, which raises all these questions about his real origins. And if you ask me, I think he's definitely from Chiba. Just like Beatrix, I feel like there's more in store for Ross in part 2, so I'm excited to see where his character goes, especially after he was betrayed by Beatrix. Dr. LaRoe is Imperium's head scientist, and definitely one of the season's most evil characters. She doesn't have any powers, and she's not really a fighter. She's a scientist who knows she's doing evil stuff and enjoys it. Dr. LaRoe is a great antagonist for Sora, and I enjoy their shared history. Rapton is your classic, overconfident villain. It's a stereotype we've seen before in Ninjago, and I feel like Rapton's okay. He's definitely the weakest of these four. We also got the evil magician dude, Dorama. He's kind of a goofy villain, and I was surprised he actually had relevance to the season's greater story. I could definitely see him becoming the next mechanic or something. The last thing I want to discuss is, well, dragons. They're pretty prominent in this season, and the season introduces a new race of dragons called the Source Dragons. The Source Dragons connect to elemental abilities, and are somehow linked to the merge, but we don't know how. Ryu is a Source Dragon. He's part of the main crew and has a very adorable design. There's also the Matriarch Dragon from episode 2, and I love that these dragons can actually speak. It makes them feel more powerful. Lastly, there's the gigantic Source Dragon that Imperium captured, and I love this scene in episode 10, seeing the ninja speak to this colossal dragon. This scene felt so grand to me, and conveyed a great sense of wonder. I love Lloyd's visions after the dragon gives him powers, seeing the ninja masks in the graveyard, pretty ominous stuff. I hope this has relevance in the future, and isn't just alarming for no reason. So yeah, we've talked about most of this season's important stuff. I do have a few criticisms though. The premise of this show is the dragons are being hunted down, and the ninja have to free them. This is basically the same as Hunted. It's not a huge complaint, but this idea definitely feels repetitive. I also feel like the ninja, the original ninja, should have been visibly aged up. I'm talking design changes and actually making them adults. Obviously LEGO would never ever do that because of money, but I feel like it would have been more effective in distinguishing the two generations. I feel like adult ninja passing on what they know to Sora and Aaron would feel more compelling than the still teenage ninja being teachers. Also, this isn't really a complaint, but I hope at some point they address where the missing characters are, such as Garbna, Misako, Pixel, Skylar, etc. And characters from other realms like Akita, the Firstborn. I hope at some point in the series in the coming years this happens. But overall, Dragons Rising is off to a very good start, and I'm feeling pretty optimistic about part 2. I'd give this season so far a 9 out of 10, and I really hope part 2 delivers on more character work, as well as backstory and information. But for now, part 1 was a solid foundation, and I feel good that part 2 can set Ninjago at a good course in the coming years. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, share with anyone whenever you know, share your thoughts on the first half of Dragons Rising Season 1 below, and I'll see you guys next time.
But there will be danger.
Yes, I will be the danger.
I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger.